All right, good evening. Thank you for joining uh, People's Parliament. I am your host, Mr. Ako Christian. Thank you for staying through until this moment. We are taking a look at some national headlines. Number one on the list is non-disclosure of assets. Court discharge and quits Abba Kyari. Number two is Tinubu faces perjury amidst mutilation of electoral law. Number three is Abba Yusuf. Abba Yusuf faces mass protests in Kano State. The people of Kano State are happy that having won, and the people of Kano State have had to maintain their ground by defending the mandate. He has since gone ahead to defect to the ruling party, APC. So there's mass protests going on against the governor. And in Iran-US-Israeli war has also exposed the inefficiency of other countries like Nigeria that depend heavily on importation of foreign goods, such as petroleum products. And it's beginning to show up in our filling station, where many filling stations are already shutting down as a result of lack of petroleum products. And it has a wider implication on the economy in terms of food prices. All these are things that we're going to look at in the course of the program. Then Niger State youths protest against AEDC, that is the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company. The Niger State youths have been protesting on the streets against the non-availability of power supply, where they have been quoted to saying they cannot be paying for darkness. They were complaining against estimated bills that are being distributed by the power holding company in Mina. Now, of course, online PVC registration is still ongoing, as well as the ADC membership registration. So members of the public are encouraged to do well and enroll. For those who don't have PVC or who have needs to change the location of their voting point from one polling unit or one state to another, please do so. The window is open now so that you will not be denied your civic rights of voting. So on this note, I will be establishing the protocol of the program, which is events. Let's see how this goes with the available guests who are still yet to join, of course. So taking a look at the number one item, non-disclosure of assets. According to the Nigerian Constitution, 1999, as amended, it is required that public officials be able to disclose their financial status in terms of proper money in the bank, cash at hand. All these have to be disclosed upon taking off or taking over as a public official. But in the event of Abba Kyari, that wasn't done. There was no any documents seen showing that Abba Kyari discloses public assets, which led to questioning of how he was able to amass wealth, acquire properties across the Federation. And of course, number two item, we read on the news, we are surprisingly, he has since been granted, the case has been squashed by the courts. He has been discharged and acquitted by the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja. This case in particular has attracted a lot of attention from Nigerians who are now querying the rationale behind the judge's decision When you look at the judge now may frame up excuses that there were no substantive evidence by the prosecuting counsel. They were unable to provide the required evidence for them to proceed with the case. And on that note, they may choose to have discontinue the legal proceeding against Abba Kyari. However, the dilemma on the streets, what will be the implication of this type of judgment on the mindset, the orientation we have towards this country at this time when the judiciary is struggling heavily to retain or regain lost public confidence. Discharging a public official that has been brought to court without finality to the matter doesn't really speak well of the judiciary in this instance. Abba Kyari case was a very popular matter. It's a matter that attracted the attention of the general public, and one expect proper scrutiny of the case before acquitting Abba Kyari of all the charges that were brought against him by the authorities involved. And Tinubu faces perjury allegations amidst mutilation of electoral law. There is this segment of the electoral law that provided legal framework where persons aspiring for public office can even be sued to court on grounds of any falsification of documents or previous criminal cases standing against such individuals. But as I speak to you, that aspect of the electoral law has been silently removed by Bola Ahmed Tinubu for only reasons he alone will be able to justify. Now, this is not the first time that such thing will be happening. Tinubu himself has pronounced himself as the law of the land. Because whatsoever is passed from the National Assembly, it depends on the prerogative of the president to decide what he retains. He can choose to remove whatsoever he doesn't want, remove and sign those segments that he is comfortable with. Is that the country? No wonder the National Assembly are singing on the mandate we stand. Of course, they're standing on its mandate because all the economic burden, all the salaries, arrears, allowances that serve as economic burden on the majority of taxpayers of this country is being used for payment of the senators and House of Representatives. It's just a blatant waste of resources. It's a waste of resources in the sense that their use, what's the use of the National Assembly when the president can decide to remove some segments of an amended bill, remove it and retain whichever part the bill that is comfortable with and sign it into law. Yet there is no uproar. There is no any official letter or disagreement from the National Assembly. Everybody just sit down cool with all this work. How else can you describe a country that is under siege? The situation of Nigeria is very strange at the moment. This wasn't the way the Nigerian democratic journey started in the year 1999. We used to have, the Senate were able to at least challenge whatsoever the executive was doing that was not in tandem with the Constitution. But the Senate leadership under Godswill Akpabio have become rubber stamp in the sense that they are unable to even hold the executive responsible. They are unable to challenge the illegality of mutilation of amended bills by the sitting president. How else can we describe the wastages of public resources at the National Assembly when they have no effect? They have no effect, no use in this instance. And Iran-Israeli war has exposed many countries that are volatile economically, particularly in Nigeria, where our refineries have not been functional, not depending on importation of fuel. And in this instance, with this prolonged war that's now ravaging the Middle East, is now boomeranging in Nigeria. Nigeria is an oil-producing country, just like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Qatar, Kuwait, and other oil-producing countries. But the situation in the Middle East today has exposed the lies told by the Nigerian government to our citizens. Repeatedly, billions and billions of naira have been earmarked for refurbishment of the Nigerian refineries. Until this moment, those refineries are not found to be effective. The government of the day must be held accountable, and they should be able to respond to questions by the Nigerian people who desire to know the essence of the refurbished refineries, the essence of the billions of naira that were budgeted for the refurbishment of these refineries over the years. If they cannot produce the required local crude, petrol that are required by the local economy, if they cannot produce it, of what use is those investments? We have a station where members or staff of the National Assembly are busy recouping millions and millions and millions of naira home as salaries, arrears, allowances, for doing virtually nothing. What are they producing? They are producing nothing. And the Nigerian state is paying them heavily. All these wastages will lead to what? Debt. Huge debt profile. And at the end of the day, you see Nigerians still heading to China to go and borrow. I don't know how the country intends to sustain this type of economy, where unproductive sectors of the economy are taking home the larger proportion of what should have been earmarked for developmental projects, as well as taking people out of poverty. These funds have been wasted on unproductive sectors like the NNPC, not producing or if yet. They're there taking home millions and millions of naira salaries, allowances, as well as arrears. It's unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. In the midst of this, you still have NNPC officials that are traveling to other countries for medical trips, refreshment courses, and all other flimsy reasons just to fly abroad and further earn from the Nigerian coffers in dollars. These are some of the challenges that are confronting the Nigerian states. Now we need a leader that will indeed stand his ground and say, Nigeria cannot continue in this trajectory. Nigeria cannot continue on this path. There is need to chart a new course. That leadership currently is not in the APC. APC has not shown prudence in management of national resources, and they have to go. If they don't go as far as and as long as they remain in power, they continue to drag Nigeria happen on a daily basis. So this is just early stages of the war. Nigeria is already feeling the heat. Dangote refinery has not proven to be efficient for local consumption of petroleum products. So what's next? What's the next available option for the Nigerian states? It remains to be seen. Continue to monitor the situation because fuel increment has already begun. 100 naira was added as at yesterday. As of today, they are expecting more as we progress into the war that's already ravaging the Middle East. Definitely, there are escalations. Some of those escalations have multifaceted implications on several other countries, including Nigeria. So this kind of events or war expose countries that are not prepared, countries that have over the years wasted her limited resources on flamboyant lifestyle instead of saving for the rainy day. They have lived a very flamboyant life, wastages upon wastages. Let's see how they're able to continue. So Nigerian youths in Mina, Niger State, protested heavily against the AEDC, that's the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, for rewarding them with heavy, unbearable, estimated bills in the midst of darkness. The people complain that they cannot more afford to continue living in darkness and paying heavily. There is no light in Mina, there is no power generation, yet Niger State is referred to as power state. And they're beginning to ask, how can you, that is the AEDC, repeatedly send bills of over 200,000 for just 2-bedroom apartments that they cannot afford to continue on this path? They protested against the AEDC and promised to sustain the protest if something drastic is not done, very urgent. We cannot afford to live in darkness and continue to pay heavily to AEDC. It's a pity that Niger State, the power state at that, is unable to provide the people with electricity. Which way? When His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi traveled to Egypt to go and study their power generation and how they were able to multiply this power generation, instead of learning from his footprints, the APC were busy mocking him. Today, we are all living in darkness. As it is, even in those two, we were able to manage to set up because we have solar panels. It's unfortunate that setting up in Nigeria, even though you are not a power generating industry, you have to provide yourself power supply source. Otherwise, there's no way it can function. So how can the country become industrialized? It's not possible. Industrialization will remain in mirage as far as the Nigerian state is unable to provide the people with electricity. Electricity generation is very fundamental to any country that is willing to make progress, especially shifting from consumption to production. Because at the end of the day, for any country to make progress in productive sector, such country must be able to generate the required industrial scale electricity supply. Such country must be able to also provide adequate security of lives and property. Such country must be able to maintain favorable exchange rates at a very stable price. Failure to do these three things is the beginning of a country move forward without taking care of power, without taking care of security, without taking care of the economy, having a very favorable and stable exchange rate. No country makes progress. So, on online PVC registration and ADC membership card, that's the last item on table tonight. There has been an ongoing PVC registration since the year 2025, as at around October. And it is expected that all well-meaning Nigerians should register in mass. If you feel vote does not count, think twice. Why should the APC roam after you, begging you to pick up to vote for them? They understand that votes actually count. So they are playing on your intelligence to discourage you that vote does not count. In essence, why should just 8% of Nigerian population decide for the remaining 92% who rules the country? Nigerians, this is no time to sit back and conclude that votes never going to count. There is a number that comes out that cannot be rigged. When that number is available, INEC must do the right thing. So let us make it a primary responsibility. Get your registration done online through INEC portal. You can register your PVC. When you pick up your PVC, you become eligible voter. You cannot wait for election period and cast your vote for a credible candidate that will move Nigeria from consumption, a credible candidate that will make Nigeria the envy of global community. As it is, we are just a laughing stock. We need to make progress as people. Card, yes, the ADC has thrown open a membership registration portal. All well-meaning Nigerians again are encouraged to register and participate actively in the political space. You cannot sit back folding your arms and expect a good result. Nation building involves citizens who have chosen not to sit quiet, idle by, and watch their country being destroyed. So we have to come together collectively and pay the price of sacrifice, the price of getting involved. You think you don't have time, but when bad government visits you, you understand that all the things you are running after cannot even save you. So we have a country to build, we have a country to rescue. Let us come together and get involved in the Nigerian political arena. Thank you for listening. This is where we will draw close the curtain for the day. Please remember to subscribe to Codem Media TV as we continue in the political journey towards a rescue Nigeria mantra. God bless you. I remain your host, Mr. Abba Kyari. Please subscribe to Codem Media TV. Until I come away again, you have a pleasant day. For me in the studio is good night. Bye-bye.